It's not about doing all the things. At a certain level of business growth, more opportunity doesn't necessarily create more momentum. It just creates more noise. It creates more overwhelm. It creates more fragmentation. And this is the stage where knowing what's aligned for you right now, what has expansive energy, what is mine to do is key. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 477. And today we're going to unlock discernment for growth. Are you ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It is your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier and founder of the Rising Tide Collective. And today I'm introducing a new short series here on the podcast. And it's inspired by quite a few coaching spaces I've been holding where established business owners and leaders have been really struggling with making choices, with streamlining the barrage of opportunities and really looking at what's mine to do, what's aligned, what's expansive. And really, this is a masterclass, if you will, in discernment, because at a certain stage of growth, it's not about adding more things. It's about discerning and really recognizing what is yours, what is your alignment, and what is just a nice idea, but it's not necessarily your thing to move forward. I really have noticed over the years that with entrepreneurs who are infinitely creative, who have so many opportunities, and as you get more established and you do the authority positioning and you get your brand more recognized and people are familiar with your work, you will have no shortage of new ideas and new opportunities coming your way. As a matter of fact, if you're in a mastermind, you probably get lots of new ideas. And I know many of my clients at times have found that being in mastermind is something that where this discernment muscle really has to grow and to recognize there's lots of ideas all the time. Which ones are yours to move forward? And when you don't have clear decision making and you don't have your discernment factors in place, decision making becomes your growth bottleneck. And you will find that instead of moving the needle further faster, that you're spinning or you have lots of things you're trying to move out. And so instead of moving forward, you're moving sideways. There's a concept of hidden uncertainty tax, right? Or having a hidden tax of when you say yes for the wrong reasons. It fragments your energy because you can't focus on the thing. And I found myself in this space between December and January because there was a lot going on at home, just stuff over the holidays, but also we were moving forward so many new initiatives and so many things that had to be done within really short periods of time. And I was very fragmented. My team was getting whiplash. It was like, which thing are we focusing on right now? And if you're not careful and you don't understand the impact, it can also lead you to saying yes to too many different things. It's going to erode your profits. It's going to leave you with inconsistent brand messaging and also be very difficult to market and move your ideas out, your programs out in the world because you have too many different things. I also see that, and this is something we're going to unpack later in the series, but when you say yes to too many things, especially when it has to do with collaborations and partnerships and visibility, you can actually erode the trust in your own email list and in your community. And people feel like they're getting pitch slapped, if you will, because you're just getting new things that you've committed to promote. So there's a lot of potential cost to fraying your focus. So we're going to look at how can you introduce more discernment. And instead of being in reactivity and maybe even having uncertainty that's causing you to make misaligned decisions or decisions that at one point felt right but now don't. We're going to look at like how to really hone this in. So today I'm going to set this up a little bit, and then I'm going to go into some key areas that I see this happening a lot. I also want to just talk a little bit about uncertainty. And let's just put the elephant in the industry into the conversation here. And there is a lot of uncertainty for many people right now. And that's not a bad thing per se. There's a lot of what we might consider this gray energy or this gray thinking. Some of my friends call it the goo. Some people are calling it that messy zone, whatever words you relate to there. We all understand that the industry is changing. AI has infused a whole new playground, if you will. We're dealing with a lot of unrest in certain parts of the world, and there's just a lot of uncertainty that's emerging. And there's also shifts in how people buy things. And what we're looking at is that a lot of what used to light people up, a lot of what used to spark you and work to fill your programs just isn't working anymore. And it's not that things are dead. For some people, it's heavy. It's not really inspiring them anymore. They don't desire that hustle and the challenge of like, let's figure out the next thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this so long and I'm so tired and I just want things to be easy. But what I used to do and I counted on now has to be reinvented. And if you're in that space, you know what I'm talking about. And when we're in uncertainty, oftentimes what happens is we go through a period of misusing our resources or making decisions that later feel misaligned or draining. And it can create this undercurrent where you feel like you've undermined your self-confidence and you just don't know what decision to make anymore because none of them seem right. And all of this can be really, really overwhelming for the expert. So what I found is over the last few weeks, I've literally had client after client after client after client where it wasn't about new strategy. Because at this stage, it's not necessarily about doing more. It was about holding space for discernment and really getting present to how to make decisions that feel aligned with limited information, with a deep level of uncertainty, but also a knowing of there is something I'm supposed to move forward right now. And when you choose better, when you feel like you get to a place where you have a discernment muscle that allows you to go, I don't even know why I feel this way or know this, but I know this isn't aligned. You can make decisions faster. You free up energy faster. Even if the opportunity that you're saying yes to isn't perfect, you see the value in it better. You stop feeling fear about missing out on opportunities, and you're really willing to say yes or no by trusting your discernment. I've had to sit with things sometimes, and I'm not perfect at this, but I've had to make decisions where everything in my body was like, no, but my logical brain was like, yes, I should be saying yes to this. And learning to trust how I make decisions helped me tune into things I didn't know about yet, but were actually going to be really important. You never know what's happening, what is playing into the discernment. And sometimes there's just things that are going on around us in the industry and or opportunities that are coming to us. And if we say yes to something that's just a good opportunity, we missed the better opportunity. There's a lot that goes into discernment, but let's talk about discerning from alignment rather than a fear of missing out or this anxiety. And sometimes it's about our capacity. And sometimes it's about just energetically knowing what's aligned and what's not aligned. So I think at this point, this is about when we're at this stage where we have no shortage of opportunities. There's a lot of things coming at us. There's a lot of opportunities for visibility. There's opportunities for different marketing strategies. There's different ideas you have about how to serve your client base. And it's all kind of spinning around. And if you're highly inventive and you are like a constant source of new ways you're meant to move things into the marketplace, having this discernment is really, really important. I mentioned a couple minutes ago that one of the things that's coming up a lot in coaching sessions is creating a container for clarity. And a lot of us at this stage, we're the head of our company. We're the head of our business. And if you've been doing this a long time, you may have a board of advisors, or you may have a mastermind, or you may have people on your team that you can bounce ideas. But what's interesting is the people who do this on their own, especially if you don't have your discernment tools in place, it's very easy to get pulled into the fear, the lack, the maybe the logical thinking at the expense of the magical opportunity, right? And what I think is interesting is who you turn to help hold space is setting the tone and the energetic capacity for the decision. And I think it's important to look at like who you allow to hold the container for. Now, if you are really, really good at this discernment on your own, awesome. That means you've probably already honed in these 3 factors that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you are in isolation, what I notice is it's probably feeling risky. And the risk feels, well, actually, the risk produces like this nervous system dysregulation. It may make you not feel safe. It may feel overbearing compared to playing it safe. And this is one of the key ways that we talk ourselves into the safety zone rather than allowing this situation or the opportunity to emerge to pull us into the next level. Oftentimes, when you're in this stage where there's a lot of things that are uncertain, that actually might mean you're being recalibrated for the next level of your impact, your income, your recognition, whatever this is that's important to you, and whatever it is that you're here to do. And when you are not allowing yourself to get out of the safety zone, you're going to find that you keep snapping back into these places where everything feels daunting and you are unclear again, and you are not making decisions that are propelling you forward. You're making decisions that actually allow you to stay stuck. And part of this is because you're doing it inside your own head, you don't have somebody looking into your blind spot with you. Now, if you have a great coach, this is what they should be doing for you. Looking at the patterns, looking at the places where you aren't seeing the opportunity in the situation. You are literally just inside your own little box of how you bounce against the walls and keep getting back into that same box. And I have definitely done this. I kind of found myself doing one of these recently, and I was like, oh boy, here I am. I recognize this. And every decision is going to feel like it's the highest stakes. Like, if this gets messed up, I'm done. That kind of high stakes thinking, that kind of like every risk feels like it could be the end of you, creates a tension and an energetic dysregulation that causes you to play safe. So it's really important to recognize the energy at which you go in. I really believe that if you can get a little bit more into your discernment factors or your discernment signals, if you will, this will allow you to make better decisions faster. The 3 factors I'm going to outline are the ones they're kind of general. They're the ones that seem to work the best, and they're the ones that I come back to over and over again for myself. But that doesn't mean there won't be some nuances or some tentacles or something that you have to look at with your coach or with your mastermind team or whoever is your decision team, right? And maybe that decision team are your guides, whatever works for you. But the thing that I feel is so key is to start with what's the outcome. What is the outcome I desire? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Melanie, I don't even know. I don't have that kind of clarity right now. Well, if you get really honest with yourself, there is an outcome that could be 5 minutes from now. It could be at the end of the month. It could be the end of the year. It doesn't have to be the big vision. Where am I going to be in 10 years? But it could be what's important to me, or what's the outcome I need right now, or what's the outcome I'd like right now. And if you can simplify it and start to think in terms of, if I want to end up here, then the other two components of this can be more helpful. This is where sometimes getting a little granular into logical, practical stuff can be helpful. I love creating a little list of what's important and then the other two factors. And that helps you start to think, okay, if I say yes to this, will I get this, right? Will this help me be the outcome? So let's talk about some potential outcomes. Let's say you've got a decision that I need help on my team, but I'm not sure the finances are in alignment with the next level team that I want to hire. So maybe you're moving from contractors to employee, or it's time to bring on a little more sophisticated team member, and you know that you're going to be investing a bit more than, somebody who is a low cost, just task-oriented person. This is where you want to think about, what is the outcome? The outcome is, I need help. I need to be able to get certain things done. And then you start to look at, if that is my outcome, will this decision help me get there? Now, there's two more pieces to this, so don't worry. We're not just making the decision on that alone. But you could use this for anything. What do I want? What is the outcome I'm craving? Where do I want to be? And if maybe the only thing is, I know I want to be feeling confident. Okay, so if I say yes to this, will it help me feel more confident? Yes or no? Or maybe's an outcome as well. I always like to start with, what do I really want? What's the outcome? The second thing is, this is where the nuances start to come in. What's important in how you get there, or how the outcome is flavored, like the lens that gets on the outcome. This is where you get to look at things like, okay, so I like to think in terms of top 3 importance factors, because you could have a list of 10 and then it'll just confuse you. But if you were really, really clear, like, what are the 3 most important things right now? Is it getting revenue in the door? Is it a revenue goal? Like, I had a client I worked with last year, and she had a really, really big, aggressive financial goal. She was moving from like a high 5-figure month to a high 6-figure month. And so every decision was going through the lens of, will it help me achieve that revenue goal? Okay, so that was what was part of the outcome she desired. But the lens was, will it move the revenue needle at that depth? Maybe it's achievement. There's a goal that you're like, I have to get this done. And if I don't get this done, or I don't roll this program out, or whatever the thing is, that is the most important thing. You're like, I'm willing to spend some money, but I got to achieve this goal. Maybe it's about getting your message out in a bigger way. Maybe it's about simplifying things so that your energy is calmer. That might be what's important to you right now. You're like, it's not about the money. It's not about the hustle. It's not about getting more done. It's simply, I want to feel peaceful. And if I'm not feeling peaceful, I won't allow myself to get to the outcome. So this is where you get to get personal. What's important to you? Is it about staying in your, the energy that you do best? Like, everybody has superpowers. For some people, it's like, the most important thing for me in this decision is, will I do more of what I love? So that might be important to you. So I like to write those 3 things down underneath the outcome. And as I'm looking at the decision, as I'm looking at the yes or no, and maybe even I rank how well these factors will occur, I'm going to start to see a clear path. Yes, this will move me there. Nope, this is going to be a distraction. Now this needs a third element, and this is where the energy comes in place. And I really truly believe that we have to look at decisions as to whether or not they expand us or contract us. And one of the signals, if you will, that I think is helpful is if you know your human design has a unique authority. And if you learn how to use that authority, this will help you recognize, is this expansive or contractive for me? And just because it's contractive doesn't mean it's a no. It means the way you're looking at it, the way you're framing it, the way you're exploring it, the way you're seeing it isn't feeling aligned, or the way it's being presented to you, you're not getting the signal that you'd like. So this is, again, where in relationship with the right coach, your coach starts to learn how to ask you and how to check in with your energy system for expansiveness or contractedness. I'm going to share a couple of examples of why this is so important. I, for many, many years, tried to use my intuition to make decisions, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Now, I was always getting little clues, but I didn't realize until I started studying human design why sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And because I didn't understand this, guess what was happening? My self-confidence on decision-making was eroded because I didn't trust myself. I didn't understand my alignment signals. My alignment signals in human design is emotional wave. And learning that and really understanding that and, developing a better way to understand my signal has helped me immensely with the patience it's required. And if you're a human design emotional, you know what I mean, that we have to give ourselves a little space, whereas other people will instantly have this clarity. They'll respond to it. And recognizing that inside yourself, and it's, if people say, trust your gut, learn your intuition, that might be their signal. That doesn't necessarily mean it's your signal. And you have to learn how to understand expansion and contraction and what your signal is in relationship to that. And what happens is when you go through this process, or whatever version works for you, and really understanding your discernment factors, and you get to the expansion versus contraction, you should have a pretty clear picture of wait, yes, no, because your criteria is in front of you for your authority to respond to. Now, keep in mind, I'm hitting the high notes here, and this has deeper nuances depending on a lot of components that are maybe in your blind spot, maybe things that are criteria that you don't always think about. And it's really important that you have somebody who can ask you powerful questions to access the clarity that maybe you haven't developed yet. And sometimes we look at things in one dimension based on our patterns and our filters and our paradigm, but we miss that there is a deeper opportunity, and having a light shined on that is amazing. When I get into talking about the next discernment area, which is going to be on speaking and learning what to say yes to share your message. I had a friend of mine one time reframe something for me because I was looking at it with a limited criteria. And when she reframed for me, I was like, oh, yes, of course. It gave me a whole new lens to look at the opportunities from, which opened up a major, major opportunity for me. So I'll unpack that a little bit more in the next episode. Let's talk a little bit about staying in indecision. Now, indecision is different than timing is wrong. Sometimes the timing needs to develop. We're on human time, but there's universe time, and they're not matching up, and we have to sometimes trust that the clarity we need isn't there because some things are moving on a level that we don't understand yet. That's different from indecision. When you're in indecision, it actually causes you to spend more energy, be more stressed out, and be more overwhelmed. It could actually also impact your team, and it can dilute your capacity to grow because you're caught in an energetic drain. And I really, truly believe that sometimes you have to make a decision with limited clarity and certainty in order to free up the most important asset you have, which is your mental bandwidth. So be willing to recognize when a decision needs to be made, even if it's not perfect, because the cost of not deciding is too high. And it's having a greater impact on you really like shining brighter, getting to step up and step into these bigger goals and to be in the momentum. Because let me tell you, indecision and dragging your feet on something is an energetic drain. And when you do that enough, you build a repetitive pattern and a conditioned response of pause, get into uncertainty, drag my feet, don't make any decision, feel frustrated, give up on myself, right? Like you can see that negative pattern can be reinforced because if you do it enough times, that's what your unconscious mind starts to believe is how you do decision making. What you want to do is cultivate trust with yourself, trust with the factors, and to be okay to make the best decision possible with limited information, even if it's not the perfect decision. And last, I want to bring this back in. Know that everyone is not your sounding board. It is so critical to turn to people that you have shared trust, who can hold a bigger vision for you, who are safe. Safe meaning they're not going to drag you into the safety zone, but they're safe to process and make the wrong decision and not make you wrong for that. And trust me, that is not always family, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? So you need people you trust. You need people who can hold the range and the possibility when you can't see it and help you make the most aligned decision possible if you're going to turn to somebody else. And this, if you're with the right coach, they can do this. Sometimes this will happen in a mastermind, but masterminds can be a little unwieldy. But make sure you have somebody, a mentor, a guide, an intuitive, somebody who can hold that kind of vision for you without letting their stuff get mucked up in your decision. I'm excited to unpack the rest of this series with you, and I'd love to hear, how did this episode land? I love so much when you share what's landing for you, what's expanding your thinking, what's addressing things that are up for you right now. And when we get into the next discernment piece, my goal for you is that you actually start to build a muscle that lets you multiply opportunities and have growth of impact, and growth of your work in the world be the outcome. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.